All right. Here we go back again on the other side of the coin. Oh my God! Look who we have here. Look who we have here. It's the boy, the guy who is running his mouth in football Twitter, talking a lot of stuff about Chelsea. Some actually legitimate stuff, but here's the intro for you. Hopefully, I don't stuff this up. Here's how it goes. When this clueless American speaks, you listen. You listen.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Lyes, how you doing, my man?
Miz, my guy, I'm very excited to be on the channel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get into Lampard, excited to get into Ole, United, Chelsea. Let's get into it, man.
Hey, bro, just take it easy on us. Yeah, I know you guys are leading the table, and I know we are in the bottom. Just go easy. Just go easy. We were on top not that long ago, so just remember that. When we beat Leeds, we were on top for 6 minutes, so remember that.
Things can change. All right, man, let's get it.
All right, man. Look, obviously the Southampton game just finished, and I know you were watching it very closely because off the back of that, massive implications as to where Man United would be in the table. Yeah, Southampton. I mean, first of all, let's talk about this game. Obviously, they beat Liverpool, and now Man United's level on point. Well, they've been level on points with Liverpool, but now they've got a game in hand as well, so they could possibly go on top. Let's just have a quick conversation about this game, though. First of all, obviously, everyone's watched this. Southampton versus Liverpool, man. Your thoughts about Southampton's performance in their season so far?
Southampton, man, I'm a huge fan of Hussenhutle. I think for me, when you talk about top coaches in the league, I think you have Jurgen Klopp, you have Pep Guardiola up there, and then I think there's a bit of a gap between the next few managers. But I think in that second tier of managers, Hussenhutle is right up there with anyone, in my opinion. I think when you look at Southampton's team from goalkeeper to striker and even the depth that they have, I think outside of Danny Ings, who for me is a terrific striker, and Jan Vestergaard, who today actually didn't even play, I think there's very few top players. In fact, very few, in my opinion, like even just regular Premier League players. I think a lot of them, you wonder where do they come from.
None of them are world class. None of them are world class.
No, not even for me. They're not even like the tier below or the tier below. And I look at these players like Gineppo, for example. I have no idea where he came from. Today, Diallo in the middle of the pitch for Southampton was sensational in my opinion. But Hussenhutle has found a setup that managed to get the best out of all of these players in different positions. And it's mind-blowing that this was a team a year ago in December. They were last place in the league. They had just finished conceding 9 to Leicester. And he has completely transformed this team now into one of those bogey teams in the Premier League that no one wants to come to St. Mary's and play.
Nah, 100%, man. Hussenhutle, for me, he seems like a dream manager, like every team that kind of wants, because the kind of work that he's doing with Southampton at the moment is absolutely exemplary. Like with the kind of lack of budget that he has, and the kind of sort of, the performances that he's getting out of Southampton, he's going toe to toe against some of the big boys. Like we drew against them. I'm not sure if has Man United played Southampton?
We were down 2-0 to Southampton, and we came back 3-2. But like they give us a game every time we play them.
Yeah. So we were up 2-0, then it was 2-2, then we went 3-2, then they came back 3-0. They scored 3 second half goals against us. They pressed the hell out of us in that game. Absolutely killed us.
That's one thing about Hussenhutle. They call him the Alpine Klopp because his style of management is so similar to Klopp's. And you saw today, you saw the first half was just a chaotic battle between two teams that have very similar philosophies. And you saw Hussenhutle at the end of the game, like in tears. The performance that his players just put out there for him, I mean, you have to be
unbelievable, man. I mean, it's absolutely understandable. I just saw some few tweets on Twitter saying, "Oh, I can't believe this guy's crying." I mean, how can you not? Like, this guy's just putting on. Like, people don't understand the passion, the emotions that go in a match, man. Like, he's just beaten the champions. He's just kept them on kept a clean sheet as well. So of course he's going to be crying. But enough about that match. Let's now talk about the implications that has happened. Look, Man United on top of the table, and I can't believe it. Like, we're having this discussion where we're 9th and we're in a bad situation. We're on a downward spiral at the moment. But I've seen a lot of your videos, my man. I've seen a lot of your videos straight after Chelsea, and you give it to us. Let's talk a little bit about your thoughts on Chelsea before we get onto the whole Man United side of things. How have you been? What's your thoughts about our squad, our depth, the quality that we have, and the kind of performance that you're seeing? Like, do you think it's acceptable right now with the performance that we've got at the moment?
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into that. First of all, just to get things started, if you have seen any of my videos, if you have seen my tweets, I have been very harsh on Frank Lampard, but I think most of my
you've been ripping him apart.
most of my criticisms of Frank Lampard mostly come because I feel that he isn't criticized enough by the media. In terms of being a manager and succeeding at Chelsea, I think there's still hope there. I think there's a few things that he needs to do immediately, but I also have seen your videos, and you make a very good point that he doesn't have the time to do it. We're looking at a Chelsea owner, just Chelsea in general. The ethos of that club is always fire the manager if it doesn't go well, bring in world-class talent, and it's a tight budget. It's a tight time period. Like, you have to do things in a very timely manner. If you don't get it right, like, you're out. But to talk about Chelsea, I think you guys have an excellent team. I think when you look from front to back, you have two of the best fullbacks in the league in terms of Chilwell and Reece James. Those are two modern-day fullbacks that, in fact, I think if United had those, we would be so much better, because you need in the modern game two fullbacks that are going to go forward nonstop. You guys have that. In the middle, you have Zuma and Thiago Silva. I think that gives you a good balance of aggression, speed, strength, with the experience and obviously the world-class ability of Thiago Silva. Yeah. In midfield, you have a few players here and there. I think that's really where the biggest issues with Chelsea come. But I think there's still a balance. Like, there's different profiles that you can put in, mix and match with each other. And then, of course, the front, you have tremendous talent. I mean, Pulisic, Werner, will get into him, Havertz,
Ziyech,
Hussenhutle, Ziyech. You have a wealth of talent. So I don't think it's a situation like Arsenal, which for me, Arteta, I have criticized him too, but clearly he doesn't have a great enough squad. It's not a situation like United last year, where before Bruno Fernandes came in, there wasn't a lot of talent in that team either. Chelsea has a really top squad that if you bring in a Thomas Tuchel or a Max Allegri tomorrow, there's no guarantees, of course, but I think you guys would be a title challenging team just based on the personnel that you have. But that's really my thoughts on Chelsea's squad, if you ask me.
Nah, man, I have to agree, man. When you look at it in paper, I know a lot of people will say, well, things don't happen in paper. You need time, you need gelling and this and that. We're close to halfway through the season. There's a lot of players that were still there from last season as well. Let's not forget, a lot of our youth players have come through from last season. So it's not all, ripped apart and started all together. There's been the bases from last season as well. And then we've added the quality this season. So, yeah, man, I can't deny on what you've said, because, when you look at our fullbacks, Chilwell and Reece James, as you said, probably two of the best. Liverpool probably comes close to that with Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Robertson's probably a bit better than Chilwell, probably a little bit more better than Chilwell. But Alexander-Arnold, I think Reece James matches him in terms of output, but at the same time, I think he overshadows him in defense. And then, as you said, the centre backs to midfield is probably where once upon a time we did look much stronger. But I think our midfield is probably the biggest issue with not having Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek of the 2018-19 under Sarri was phenomenal. That Loftus-Cheek with Eden Hazard. So I think midfield is a bit of a worry, but up front, as you said, man, unbelievable. So, I mean, from a Man United point of view, looking at our matches, like, how do you sort of think, man, these guys should be doing a hell of a lot better than what they're doing right now? I mean, did you see our matches and go, and what's going on? That's a lot of talent that's just not clicking.
Well, let me tell you this. I got a lot of stick on Twitter for my preseason predictions. So the most stick I got was for having Arsenal finish fourth. I thought Arsenal, off the back of that really good season from Arteta last year, we're going to build off that with Thomas Partey, with Gabriel coming in. I thought they were going to really build off that and come fourth. Got that completely wrong. A lot of people ripped into me, but a lot of people also had a problem with my prediction, and they're being proven right. I had Chelsea finishing second. I thought with all the additions that were coming off, that were joining that team that Lampard had success with last year, plus I thought City were kind of taking a back step. I thought Chelsea would be the team to come closest to Liverpool. So, as a Man United fan, are you surprised? I'm shocked. I'm absolutely baffled how it's not working out for Chelsea, because I thought for a team that, this is really like where my issues with Lampard come. this was a team last year that I thought Lampard really got an identity with. And I think when I look at football managers, that's the key word: identity, style of play. What's your philosophy that you put onto this team? And that was a problem I had with Ole for over a year. And I thought Lampard really did a good job in his first year. No transfers to make because of the ban. I thought he did a good job of bringing in all these young players and having a certain unity. Like, it was a Chelsea team that you wanted to get behind if you were a Chelsea fan. Yeah. And now he was given $250 million to go spend on.
That's my word, man. $250 million.
Because I don't think 250 million really like makes it clear. Like $250 million.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, that really like gives you the impression of how much money Lampard has put into this team. And he's strengthened in areas that last year you guys really needed improvement on. Last year, Kepa was horrible, right? Any goalkeeper would have improved. And I have my question marks on Mendy, but undoubtedly he's a better keeper than Kepa. We can agree on that. Chilwell, one of the best.
Bro, I saw your video yesterday. You said your neighbor would be a better keeper.
No, and Kepa, he would be a better keeper than But Chilwell, one of the best left backs in the Premier League last year. Alonso and Emerson clearly were not at the level. Chilwell is a massive improvement. You got him in. You couldn't find a consistent partner for Zuma between Rudiger and Christensen and Tomori. You brought in Thiago Silva, who's elite. And then, of course, the forward line, which I think really, when you look at it, is where the most question marks come. I thought that's where Chelsea really had the most success last year. You had Pulisic, who, outside of lockdown, looked terrific.
Yeah, he looked amazing.
Tammy Abraham, who I really had my question marks about, was really growing into that role as the Chelsea number 9. And he's kind of now been put to the side, perhaps undeservedly. I think you could say definitely undeservedly.
Yeah.
Ziyech, I really like as a player, but he's been in and out of the team due to injuries. I think he will come good. But my question mark now is, Lampard had this winning formula last year, and now he comes to the season, and the players that really got him top 4 last year and are willing to fight for him, and he knows what results he can get out of them, he's kind of tossed him to the side. Outside of Mason Mount, who is a key contributor to his team, the likes of Hussenhutle has been cast aside. Abraham has been cast aside. Tomori has been cast aside. Giroud, who is Chelsea's most consistent player, I would say, this year, at least in attack.
Our most consistent scorer. Definitely.
And he's being completely shut down. I get why he's doing that, because Giroud to start the season wasn't in Lampard's plans. He, I guess, wanted to play a certain way that obviously Giroud doesn't fit into that system. But Lampard has gotten to a point now where his back is against the wall. He needs results. It's a results business. At a certain point, you have to say, bun the players you spent all that money on, what's going to get me the results. And for me, something I really noticed yesterday, for example, I don't mean to keep rambling on, I'll let you get onto this, but when you have a player like Ziyech's best attribute is the balls he puts into the box. His left foot
distribution.
His left foot is a wand, and you've seen over the years the balls that he puts in far back post are terrific. But can you imagine now a player like Olivier Giroud getting on the end of those balls? We haven't gotten to see it much because Ziyech has been injured, but I think that was the player that Ziyech was crying out for yesterday, and Giroud didn't see the pitch for a second. Werner, we've seen in his time at Leipzig, and in fact, Nagelsmann even came out and said, this is a player that without space in behind is handicapped. Chelsea are playing in a style of play now that doesn't get the best out of Timo Werner. And don't get me wrong, Timo Werner has been atrocious this year, but he is never going to get back to his best the way Chelsea is playing right now. So for me, I think he needs to get back to what got him success last year, Lampard, and bring those players back in because he can trust them. At the end of the day, this is my final point on this. Every great team in world football and history has had 8 or 9 solid players that play every single game for their team.
True. Look at Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool is the perfect example. Outside of maybe 1 or 2 players in the midfield, it's the same back 4 at full strength, the same front 3, Alisson and Jordan Henderson. Now, whether you want to bring in Thiago or Oxlade-Chamberlain or Curtis Jones or Keita, it's always those same other 9 players. Chelsea, you could say the goalkeeper is the same, the back 4 is the same, Mason Mount is the same. Outside of that,
it's all mix and match.
So for me, like that's the biggest thing about Lampard. He needs to stick with a strategy and stick with a lineup that's going to get him success for the rest of the season.
Nah, man, 100% have to agree. Just hold that thought because we're going to come back to the whole Frank Lampard thing. I want to talk about Man United. I'll talk about your boy, Ole at the wheel, man. Every time I used to see Rio Ferdinand with that dumb tweet, how he's going, Ole at the wheel, and he's doing these ones. Oh, man, used to annoy the hell out of me. I I want to talk about Ole because, yeah, first time I'm getting to speak to a Man United fan and actually getting to know exactly what they feel about Ole. I mean, talk to me, man. Surely, I mean, he's on top of the table at the moment.
Yeah.
But let's not kid ourselves to say that he is, a top-class manager or, like personally, I don't think he's a top-class manager. Maybe not yet. Maybe he will be down the track. But this guy just got thumped against Spurs 6-1 not that long ago. Then I think you guys lost to the Turkish team, Besiktas, I think away from home.
Next year, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was whole talks about just before the Everton game. I remember I even tweeted out that if Everton gets this win, this guy's out. Everton, come on, get the victory. And this isn't the first. I'm like, this is probably the first time for Frank Lampard that he's under immense pressure where the fan base has sort of gone split now. Probably more than split, probably 60-40 in the sense that they 60 probably wants him out now and in a nice way, not in a bad way that I'll get out of here, not like that, in the sense that you've done your job, now let's get someone in. But you guys with Ole have been in this situation plenty of times where your fan base have been on his back relentlessly. So I want to know from you, man, what is your feelings towards Ole from the beginning?
First of all, to address Ole Gunnar Solskjær and how he keeps doing it, he is actually very skilled in the art of black magic. That's the only way I can. That's the only way I can explain it. Like
don't be selling the black magic here, bro.
He has this juju. I have no idea what he does to keep getting himself out of every situation. But all jokes aside, I've actually been one of the harshest critics of Ole Gunnar Solskjær on Manchester United Twitter. I would say. I told you, like, I expected Arsenal to come fourth, City third, Chelsea second, and United and Liverpool first. I had United finishing like seventh or eighth. I thought off the horrid transfer market that we had, I thought off the really poor start that we had, I didn't see any way out or any light at the end of the tunnel for United and for Ole. And after the Leipzig game, in fact, I had a whole video I made on that, like slamming my table. I was screaming Ole out. Like I lost my head. But when you say Ole isn't a great manager, so for me, there's two different parts of management, tactics and man management. And for me, I definitely agree. Ole Gunnar Solskjær is not the greatest tactician. In fact, he's, for me, not even an average tactician. But Ole Gunnar Solskjær is straight out of the school of man management of Sir Alex Ferguson, in my opinion. I think that he has such a way of getting the best out of his players and putting his players in the best situations to succeed and getting them all like to buy into his message. I think no one is better than that. And I think to bring this back to Lampard did something. Lampard has taken two traits from Jose Mourinho, and they're two traits that you don't want to have as a manager. The two traits are: one, he throws his players on the bus. The second trait is that he's not very good at taking responsibility. And I think, whether you agree with that or not, we can move on to that. But I think to give Ole credit.
I think recently I can agree with that. He has been throwing players. Timo Werner, he threw him under the bus. Callum Hudson-Odoi, he consistently talks about him in the press.
It's like you said, it's because now it's starting to, the pressure is building up. The fan base is starting to get split. Now is really when you see what's a manager made out of. And Ole Gunnar Solskjær, in the 3 years that he has been at Man United, the 2.5 years, he has kind of fired at the squad one time, and it's when we lost to Everton 4-0, and he said, some of these players aren't going to be a success here. I'm going to be a success here. That's the only time. Other than that, it's always he'll take the bullets for the team. And I think that's really important. I think you see Klopp and Guardiola, when they drop points. Like, I haven't watched the interview that Klopp just did, but I promise you he's probably saying something along the lines of, Southampton.
The grass was blue.
Yes, exactly. They'll always take pressure off their squad. They'll put it on themselves. They'll blame something else. It'll never be on their squad. Mind, when they go into the locker room, I'm sure Klopp is screaming his head off. I'm sure he's saying, Alexander-Arnold, you were rubbish. I don't know, Salah, you were terrible. But he will never throw his players under the bus, and Ole is just like that as well. So something a lot of people say to me, like, for example, when I made that Lampard video, a lot of people said, Lyes, Ole is lucky because, what did they say? Ole is lucky because his players bail him out. His players always do individual moments of magic. But I think the reason that happens is because he knows how to, like, all of his players believe in him. He'll never throw them under the bus, and he always puts them in the right position. How many times now with Lampard have you seen Pulisic play on the right? Werner plays on the left. Havertz, I think he's completely lost Havertz.
I saw recently in one of your videos where you stated that yes, individual brilliance gets him out of the way, but you got to put them in the right spots to get the best out of them, so that they, individually they perform the best, which makes sense. If you put them in the right position, the right role, tell them the right instructions, what to do, well, of course, the individual brilliance is gonna come out. And I think that's the fundamental part of it. But yeah, go on, man.
Football is a very simple sport. I said this yesterday. I'm not a football savant, and I'll never claim to be. But it's very simple. You put your best players in their best positions, in positions to succeed, and players like Pogba, Bruno, Rashford, Martial, they're going to do wonders. Yeah. You put Timo Werner in a situation where he has space to run into, he's going to look way better.
He's going to kill him.
Yeah, you give Ziyech targets to find with these wonderful crossfield passes, he's going to look like Messi. So you put your best players in the best positions, and this was a problem I had with Ole. For example, the one thing for me with Ole that really gets on my nerves, and we're going to see what he's made out of in these next few weeks, where he plays City in the semifinal this week. He plays Liverpool at Anfield. My problem with Ole is that in the big games where it really matters, he changes the formula that's got him success, and he goes for a more defensive, pragmatic situation. So for against Leipzig, for example, he needed 1 point out of that game to advance to the next round. And what he did, he dropped Paul Pogba, he dropped Van de Beek, he played 5 in the back, and he played Matic and McTominay. And for me, I was like, are you mad?
It was like 7 defensive players.
7 defensive players. And like that's just you're not going to create chances with McTominay and Matic in midfield. But when he plays Pogba in a more attacking situation where he can really express himself, when you play Bruno Fernandes next to speedy players on either side of him, like these players are all going to look great. So you don't have to be a great tactician to do that. As the game advances, as the game goes on, and you have to do little substitutions here or there, that's where Ole, in my opinion, really struggles. But man management, I think he really has that nailed on, and I think that's what's keeping United at the top right now. They have really good individuals, and he knows how to get the best out of them.
No, man, for sure. Hold that thought about Ole, because I want to now talk a little bit from my side about Frank and try and sort of put this whole two comparison kind of together.
Go ahead.
For me, Frank, I've now seen him for 1.5 seasons, right? I saw a little bit of him in Derby, didn't follow too much, but from what I've seen is he's not the worst man manager. He has done very well with Pulisic. He's done very well with their youth players. To be in a transfer ban season last season and not having the ingredients to go toe to toe with some of the best teams in the Premier League. He came fourth. He was level in points with Man United. Do you know what I mean? Like, you guys only pipped us because of the better goal difference, or else we had the same points. So, his management of Pulisic, in the beginning, it looked like it was a little bit, a lot of fans got after him, but it kind of made sense as time went on what he did and how he did and whatnot. There was also, in regards to, I suppose, Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, Fikayo Tomori in the early parts. A lot of people will say, he didn't treat Giroud properly enough, but then Giroud did come after the lockdown, the post-lockdown. He was fantastic. So overall, I think his man management is not too bad. It's not the greatest. I wouldn't say it's the greatest. Where I have the biggest problem with Frank Lampard is, look, he's a fantastic speaker. I think he's a far more phenomenal speaker than Ole Solskjær. When Ole speaks, I just want to mute him. But when Frank speaks, you just want to hear what. So he's a very good speaker. Let's not mess around with that. I think that's probably why the media kind of likes him as well, because he's a very good speaker. But my biggest problem with Frank Lampard is his tactical know-how. I feel like when he's in the game and when things are going south for us, all I see is just him like this. I don't see him, tactically changing. Like, sometimes I feel like you can see things within the first 5 minutes. Within the first 5 minutes of the whistle blowing in the first half, you can see that something's not right. Like, we saw that against Arsenal, right? Within the first 5 minutes, we saw Arsenal was all over us. And they were targeting our fullbacks, Chilwell and Reece James, because they weren't fit. I feel like he needed to just change something at that point. He should have just realized that, look, that's not working, and I don't get a good vibe about this. I'm gonna go 3 at the back or something. Or I'm gonna change the formation up. I'm gonna take someone. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, just react to it, which I don't think he reacts well enough at times, and tactically, I don't think he always gets it right. Against Man City as well, 3-0 at half time, and then he put out the same team to come back in the second half when he got the whole bench to warm up at halftime. I'm like, what are you doing, man? If you're going to ask them to warm up at halftime and you're not going to bring anyone in, it's almost saying that you were happy with the players at halftime on what they were doing. You didn't even make any changes. So that's my biggest sort of concern about Frank. And that's where I start thinking, I don't know if this guy has the tactical ability or the smartness to win us the Premier League down the track. Not this season, not even next season, but down the track. Do you know what I mean? He's got a lot of things to learn until he gets to that. But I think he's good enough to get top four. I mean, top four is going to be very difficult this season, but I think he's good enough to probably get us top four. What I want to ask you now is, Ole, as you said, tactically you don't think he's a masterclass as yet, but is he good enough to win you the league? Is he? That's the big question, isn't it? Because this is where my doubt is, Les, is that I think he's going through a very good patch now. I think players like Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Martial, Rashford, all are looking great. McTominay is looking great. Your defense is solid. The thing I like about Man United at the moment, and I know I'm waffling now, I'm going to pass it on to you very soon. The thing I like about Man United at the moment is that you guys manage the game. You've been managing the game very well. You go through phases in the game where the opposition is really under control, but you don't buckle. You stay compact and you look for counters. And then when you sense blood, you really go at it and try and get that goal. So I like that management of the game. Do you know what I mean? It's not just gun-ho and just attack. So, but I feel in the long run, I don't know if Ole's got what it takes to win the league. Your thoughts?
First of all, to address the game management, that's something that Ole has really improved at. And this is the key thing that as a United fan and you as a Chelsea fan, I always come back to. It's almost like these guys are learning on the job. Like it's almost an internship for Lampard and Ole. And you have to hear the question, is that right for clubs as big as United and Chelsea? But it is what it is. Is Ole good enough to win the Premier League? Is United in general good enough to win the Premier League? This is what my opinion is on that. United can win the league, but there's a few things that have to happen for them to win the league. Like they have to do a few things. First of all, like I said, Ole has to keep a winning game plan. Like this game plan that he has right now, he has to stick with it. He can't go defensive. Like we play at Anfield in a few weeks. He can't now completely throw everything that he has against a Liverpool team that is reeling and give them all all the respect now. United is a team that's at its best when they're on the front foot attacking Liverpool with speed. So he can't now go play 5 in the back, 2 holding midfielders that can't pass the ball. He has to go with that same mentality. So that's number 1 that has to happen. Number 2, we need to find goals from other places. And that's something that last year honestly wasn't a problem because Martial was in such good form. Rashford, of course, was having his best year ever. Bruno Fernandes came into the team. So that wasn't a problem. Greenwood was having a great year himself last year. This year, as good as we have been, if Bruno Fernandes or Marcus Rashford aren't scoring, we aren't getting goals from enough places. And that's a problem because we have players like Paul Pogba, who has always been a goal-scoring midfielder. He needs to add goals to his game. His performances have been a lot better recently, but he needs to add goals and assists to his game. Greenwood has to get back into that mold of last year where he was like
last season he was
unstoppable.
He was good.
Yeah. I think teams have figured him out a little. I don't think he's a real right winger, but he has been playing more and more down the middle. He's looked really good there. Cavani, we need to get him back in rhythm because he's had so many injuries and now he has this ban. He needs to get a consistent run of games going. And Martial, for me, is the biggest one because last year was so good after lockdown. This year is like a shadow of the player he was last year. He has improved recently, but we need him back at that form that was so good last year. Number 3, Ed Woodward has to back Ole Gunnar Solskjær this window. And you may ask where? A few months
this January window.
This January window. Last January, Bruno Fernandes changed the fortunes of Manchester United. He needs to find another Bruno Fernandes, but in a different position. Same like
another Bruno Fernandes. Don't ask for too much.
it's a lot, but he needs to find it doesn't even have to be in terms of quality, but what Bruno Fernandes brought to that United team, which also I think Chelsea's missing, is leadership. It's accountability. It's a guy who, for example, when Chelsea went 1-0 down to Man City this weekend, after 1-0, you knew they were going to lose, right? Through your head, everyone gave up. Yeah. With Man United, how many times have they gone 1-0, 2-0 down away from home? They had a run where they come back. Games in a row, they came back from 1-0 down because they have a guy like Bruno who holds the players around him accountable. So they need to find a player like that. a few weeks ago, I would have told you center back was the position United needed to strengthen the most.
Yeah.
For me, Victor Lindelof is atrocious. Like for me, he's one of the worst starting center backs in the league. But Eric Bailly has come into Man United, and it's like a new lease of life. Like he, first of all, complements Maguire so much better than Lindelof with his speed, his aggression, his heading ability. He has been a revelation for United this year.
He's a beast. He's a beast of a defender.
The one question,
injuries killing.
There you go. Injuries. Can we keep him fit? If we can keep him fit, United does not need to target an Upamecano or a Koundé. They have a center back right there that they spent 30 million on a few years ago. If they can keep him fit, they have a good partnership there. The position United needs to strengthen in is holding midfield. They have a midfield now where they play McTominay and Fred for the most part, and then they have that front four of Pogba, Bruno, Martial, and Rashford. But I think the problem that Ole has found is that every one of his holding midfielders excel at one thing but are not good at the other. For example, Matic, terrific ball player, but he's so heavy, he's so unaware of what's going on behind him at times that I think they need a more mobile defensive midfielder. You could say that's McTominay, but McTominay is not good enough as a passer. Who's a good passer? Pogba, but Pogba is not good enough defensively. Fred provides great energy, but he's not. He's kind of a traffic cone at times. Like you can get past him easily. The player they need is a Declan Rice, who I'm sure will end up going to Chelsea.
Here we go. Man United wants Declan Rice as well. This guy, every team wants this guy, man. Oh my!
I think he's a modern day holding midfielder. He can get on the ball. He can drop deep, spray passes all around the pitch.
He's a very good
man. Very great defensive. I think that's a player that most Premier League teams could use. That's a player I would love to see at United. Again, I think he's going to end up.
United rumored with Declan Rice as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're rumored of everyone, but I think Chelsea, I think he's a boy, a Chelsea fan, right? So I think
I think he's coming to Chelsea.
I think that's booked. But they need to scout and find that next holding midfielder that I think they've missed since Michael Carrick, honestly. I think if they can find a guy right there to pair next to Pogba and Bruno to kind of so you have the attacking nous of Pogba and Bruno, but you need someone in behind them who's a little more defensively solid, but can also pass the ball. If they can find that guy in January, United can go all the way, in my opinion. But those three things have to happen. If not, I think Liverpool will get their mojo back. Like this is a bad period for them, but they are such a good team. They have players coming back from injury. For example, Jota today could have probably changed the game if he comes on. They'll get him.
Don't forget Man City, man. Don't forget Man City.
That's the one. That's the one I was just about to say. This is a team that I had written off myself. I thought they weren't creating chances at the rate that they used to. They weren't finishing chances. But defensively, Pep Guardiola has found the chemistry between Ruben Diaz and John Stones.
Yeah.
They look great. And now, if you can get guys like Kevin De Bruyne, Sterling, they brought on Mahrez and Aguero off the bench. Like, this is still the top squad in the Premier League.
Yeah. Bro, look, we were schooled. We were poor. I don't even know how much of it is actually us being poor. I think they were fantastic as well. The way they defended Lyés, man, I was blown off my mind because every time we had the ball, they defended in a pack. They suffocate the ball carrier and they just squeeze the living daylights of them to get the ball back. So what they do is, say for example, if Pulisic has the ball and Pulisic is looking for a run, you get Cancelo or someone like Rodri and another centre back, all three sort of squeeze in on him and really suffocate him for space and try and win the ball. Yeah. Now it's really up to Pulisic to somehow find a way and find that open space to another player. But it's very difficult when 3 or 4 players come in and try and squeeze you out, which then means that there is someone open, but it's very difficult to find that open player when you're surrounded by that many players at once. And I think this is what City does so well. I think in order to beat City at the moment, I mean, it's not a surprise at all. In the month of December, they conceded only 3 goals in the month of December. They played 8 games, I think, 5 wins, 3 draws, 3 goals conceded, which is unbelievable. As you said, they found, I think, the correct ingredient with Stones and Diaz. And I think they're going to go on a bit of a run now. I'm not saying it because they've absolutely smashed us, but I think they look scary, man. So I don't think they should be written off as well. They do have a game in hand, but going back to the whole Frank Lampard and Ole Solskjær thing, were you ever in any moment throughout this time? I know you guys are buzzing now. I know Man United fan base is buzzing, top of the ladder. But was there any time along this, the run that you thought, nah, man, this guy's got to go? Like, I'm fed up with this guy.
I told you, like literally a few weeks ago. That's the thing with Ole, man. Like, it's going so bad, and then just like that, he snaps his finger and he corrects everything. And like you would think that it's happened a lot of times, right? That United goes on these horrible runs. I see this guy says United can fraud their way into the league. I hope so. But you see it so many times, like they go through these ruts. But then you notice, you read the stats in the year 2020, only Liverpool picked up more points than them. So how inconsistent really is it? Is it the pandemonium around United? Fans are always screaming for Ole out. I think it's a mixture of both. Like, as it is Man United, that's why there's always so much media scrutiny on Ole. There's so much media scrutiny on the team in general. The standards always have to be held like super high. But like to your question, how like was I ever Ole out? Like probably last week. Even now, I'm still skeptical of him long term. I think as a fan base, we really have to give him time. We have to back him at this point because he's doing wonders in my opinion right now. Like to be level on points with the chance to go into next week's.
What was the expectation this season, by the way, for Man United? Realistically,
it's tough because I think with the board's expectation, for example, Chelsea, right? If you were a fly on the wall of Roman Abramovich's board meeting this summer. The expectation was if last year you were 30 points behind Chelsea, this year you have to get at least 10 points behind, right?
100%. 100%.
You have to close the gap. But that's because Chelsea, the expectations are always that sky high. Abramovich pours money in this club and it's win or go home. United, I think there's a different expectation of the board. Get us Champions League football, balance out the books, and that. I don't know about that. But
here we go, all Chelsea fans coming after you now.
United, there's not that suffocating expectation from the board that you have to win. I think the expectation was still to come top 4, but with the window that we had, I as a United fan wasn't especially confident. Like I thought if we got a right winger in Jadon Sancho who we chased all summer after, we correct a huge balance in the team we were missing. But we never really addressed any of the key problems in our team. Defensive midfield, center back, or right wing. Instead, we got Van de Beek, who is depth, who we don't even use at this point.
Bro, what's going on with Van de Beek, by the way? This guy doesn't play. That's crazy.
I think he's a terrific player. He's a very talented player. But I think he has a player in Bruno Fernandes who is – you can't drop him right now, right? You can't. Yeah. And also, I think Van de Beek at times hasn't put his influence on games enough. I think he's very passive at times. I think he needs to really – show that we bought him for a reason. Like he's a great player, but he hasn't really earned. He hasn't given Ole any selection headaches. But he was a player that we bought for depth. He isn't even depth at this moment. Cavani, great player, but we didn't need a striker. He wasn't like the priority for Man United. Alex Telles, I had really high hopes for him because I'm not a huge Luke Shaw fan, but Luke Shaw has, if anything, gotten better. Telles, I don't think he's at the level that he is right now. And the other signing was Diallo, who we get in a few days. The youngster, Ahmed Traore Diallo, like we're really looking forward to him. But again, we didn't get him, like we haven't had him all season. So yeah, the expectation wasn't super high for me because we didn't address any immediate needs. But now, I mean, let's go.
Well, okay, let's talk about now, right? Because you guys are top. And you were saying the expectation wasn't high. So he's obviously exceeding expectation.
Yeah.
What if you now start seeing in the month of January or by the end of Feb that, the title race is gone? Like, are you going to be once again back into the get this man out of here?
I try and stay as level-headed as I can. I mean, with Ole, when we lost to Leipzig, I actually said there's nothing anymore this guy can do except like challenge for a league title to gain me back on side because I've given up on him. I don't think you say like, what if it does happen? I don't think it will. I think right now United is on this super high. Like you saw after the Aston Villa game, they're all crowding together. They're all the unity in the team right now. The camaraderie is really high. So I don't anticipate any complete like I don't expect it. If it does happen, I'm gonna try and not be completely Ole out. Like I'm gonna try stay level headed. And I think right now, if we can come top 3. I think at the end of the season, it'll be disappointing, but I think like it's realistic. But I think at this point, like we're all hoping, let's go to Anfield. Let's get something out of the game. Like we just saw the last 3 games from Liverpool. They can be got at, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in past seasons, like, okay, you can say United, they're not at the level of City and Liverpool. But this year, I think they can really go for it. I think Liverpool have shown that they have their weaknesses. without like that Henderson and Fabinho back two, you saw Walcott looked like, I don't even know, like the best player in the world. I'm just imagining what Rashford is going to do in a few weeks. So not to get too ahead of myself, but I think, this year United really can do something. And I think they have to finish at least 10 points behind Liverpool and City. I think that's the minimum.
I think that seems to be all the other top clubs' ambition to try and get, bridge the gap between City and Liverpool. There's a really good comment here I want to read out. Red Pill Lens. Bruno is a cheat code. United got refs in the pocket. Teams for some reason decide to open up against United, playing right into their strengths. As long as these factors are in place, United can win. Look, yes, I'm gonna have to address this. I'm gonna have to address this. First of all, let's talk about Bruno. But actually, no, let's talk about Bruno after. You guys get a lot of penalties, man. You get a lot of penalties, and some of them are not. They shouldn't be. Be honest, man. Some of them shouldn't be given. Am I right or wrong?
I prefer not to speak. If I speak, there's definitely some, like the one this weekend.
Bro, Pogba, he tripped over. Nah.
The thing is, Villa fans should be really pissed because last year we got a penalty against them, like completely bogus as well. Bruno Fernandes did a roulette in the opposition penalty block. They gave a.
Bro, he manipulates too. I love Bruno. I really like him as a player. He's got my respect now because he's a fantastic. In fact, he's a world-class player. I'll say it out there. But the guy, he looks for penalties, man. He's a cheat. He looks for penalties.
I think with United, to give them credit, right? We're getting some very fortunate penalties, but I think with the amount of touches that the United attackers get in the box per game, with the amount of talented, like Rashford and Martial are a nightmare to go up one-on-one. Like I'm not gonna lie, we get a lot of luck at times, but I think you buy your own luck. I think with Rashford and Martial. Funny, this channel is funny, but no, Martial and Rashford, I think they buy their own luck at times. Like no doubt, we get lucky quite often, but I think you only get that luck by committing numbers into the box as often as United does.
True. No, absolutely, man. You're spot on. At the end of the day, you got to make your luck, and United always tends to make their luck. But I'm not gonna. Referees, they love United, man. I'm telling you, they love United. I don't know. Some of these referees must be like, undercover United fans, massive United fans since they were kids, their generations and everyone. But Bruno Fernandes, bro. Talk to me about this guy. How much did you know about this guy when you first came to Man United?
I mean, I don't think most United fans did know a lot about him. I mean, again, we saw the numbers that he put up in Portugal. They were otherworldly, but also it is the Portuguese league. So in the back of your mind, you're like, how much can he bring to this United team? I think United last year were in a situation that it was kind of like a standstill. So you had your players like Pogba, Rashford, Martial, and you had the newly acquired Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, De Gea. But what you were really missing was that number 10, that creative mantelpiece that could drive teams forward. And last year, for half a season, we played with Jesse Lingard and Andreas Pereira in the number 10 position. In fact, there's a picture that you might see on social media this week. The last time we went to Anfield, our front five of midfield and attack was Fred, Andreas Pereira, Dan James, Jesse Lingard, Brennan Williams, and Anthony Martial. That was a front five. It was dreadful. Right?
Fantastic five.
It was horrible. So you bring in this guy in Bruno Fernandes, and I think whatever United fans wanted to say, we were after Paulo Dybala, if you remember. We were after him the whole summer previously. We were trying to get him in a swap deal with Lukaku, and we couldn't get it done. So we went into that first half of the season with no one. Bruno Fernandes came in for big money, and I think it was impossible to do worse than what we had. But outside of just the pure goals and assists that he creates per game, which in fact, no Manchester United player has hit this rate of goal assist per 90 since Eric Cantona, which should tell you everything.
Yeah.
It's the leadership. It's the persona. It's the grit. It's there's some players.
Yeah, he's got it all.
There's some players that are meant to play for clubs, right? There's some players that when they come to a football club, it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah, and they become the club. Become the club.
Yes. Yeah. And Bruno Fernandes, it's like when he was born, whatever day of whatever year,
it was written, you're coming to Man United, brother.
It was written to come play for Manchester United. And he has not just he is that personality, but he's embraced it as well. He's come into the club and he's relished being that guy. Like you can see he loves getting into it. He loves arguing with the refs.
Who's your captain, by the way? Who's Man United
No,
captain?
he's not. Harry Maguire is our captain. I think a lot of United fans will have something to say about that. I think they'd rather see Bruno Fernandes as captain because he is that natural leader. And the thing about Bruno Fernandes is there's actually a bit of a rift between our fan base and Man United that a lot of people don't like him. A lot of people see Bruno Fernandes in games and they see him lose the ball 50 times a game. And they're like, okay, what if we had a more efficient player? Like, what if Bruno was more efficient? And I think some of our own players, like you see Matic getting into it with him at times. You saw Victor Lindelof. There was a still last year where they were arguing on the pitch. And he definitely gets on your nerves, but you need players that are going to make you feel uncomfortable. You're going to need players that it's too easy. For example, at Chelsea, I feel like you have that problem right now. Players are too happy going through the motions. And if it works, it works. If you have a player like, there's too many players, I feel, in the modern game in particular, are too happy to just pass on the responsibility to other players. But with Bruno Fernandes, you have a player who is so desperate to get on the ball and make things happen. And I think every club needs a player like that. And he's completely changed United's fortunes. And you have to wonder, what if Chelsea had got him? I think it would have been completely different for Chelsea.
No, man, I can't. There was a lot of time there that I despised this player, man. I was like, oh, man, I hate this guy.
He's a very unlikable player on the outside. Like, if you don't support United, he's a very unlikable player.
100%. But now it's getting to a point where this guy, when he is producing week after week after week after week, you got to respect it. You have to start respecting it.
The guy who just commented and said Bruno cheat code. It's absolutely right. He is a cheat code. Like, whatever you think about him, like, there was that whole graphic on Sky Sports this week between him and Jack Grealish, probably the two best players in the Premier League this year, based on numbers, based on performances. And in terms of eye test, in terms of you watch him play and you're more like attracted to that kind of player, it's Jack Grealish every day of the week. Bruno didn't play a good game against Aston Villa, but at the end of the day, he comes out with a goal, albeit a penalty. But if you have this guy in fantasy Premier League, you're set for life.
Yo, I got him. He's my captain.
You can't go wrong with him. He literally produces every single week. Like, what more can you ask?
No, absolutely, man. I mean, the thing about Bruno Fernandes, and I know we're going to get into a few other things before we wrap things up. Bruno Fernandes is not just a penalty. I used to think it's just all about penalties, but nah, this guy's got snapshots outside of the box. This guy's got threaded passes. His vision is unbelievable. He's got the one-touch play. He's got pace. He's got the strength. He's got it all. He really has it all.
Too. His positioning inside the box, he's always in there. And one thing for me, the thing I love the most about Bruno is that some players, when it's not going their way, their heads go down, like you were saying. They'll just stop attempting things. The best example of Bruno Fernandes, to sum him up, 95th minute against Wolverhampton Wanderers the other day. Wolves are on their knees. United is dying for 3 points in a game that they played horribly in. And Bruno Fernandes is still playing that ball over the top, and he finds Marcus Rashford. Okay, it was a little in the corner, but only he is the kind of player who's going to consistently put balls in dangerous situations for his attackers to thrive in. I saw a good quote the other day. I think it was Paul Pogba raises the ceiling of every Premier League team, but Bruno Fernandes raises the bottom. He raises the basement of every team. He improves trash teams. Pogba brings them up another level, but Bruno Fernandes can bring any team from the bottom up.
No, it's true, man. I mean, as you've just said it, like United didn't have that creativity, and then this guy comes in and just single-handedly taking you guys to the top of the table. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and he's brought everyone in and made everyone feel good. Let's take a quick question here, man. We've got here Deep State asking, move Pulisic to midfield to create, then cut in with when players out wide. Pucho on left, Ziyech on right. Thoughts? Our midfield is absolutely crap considering all the talents we've got in mid. I believe when you say Pulisic in midfield, you're probably talking about attacking midfield. Look, I mean, Pulisic could possibly play as a 10. If we go with the 4-2-3-1, let's say we go with 4-2-3-1, two defensive midfielders in the double pivot. We get Ziyech on the right, Kalamantan on the left, Pulisic in the middle with either Tammy or Giroud up front or Werner up front. That could possibly work, but I don't know, man. I mean, how often has Pulisic played in the middle? I don't know. I know he's played somewhat for United States. He's played a little bit for Dortmund, but I think predominantly he's really played, on the left side. And at the same time, you also have to start thinking, well, what happens to Kai Havertz? That's probably Kai Havertz's role as well. I think down the track, Lyes, is I think we are look, Declan Rice is going to happen for us. Whether we like it or not. Look, he's a very good player. He's going to happen for us. Probably not this January window, in the summer. And I think Frank is waiting for that in the sense, if he's still around, that is by then. He's waiting for that opportunity where he can play a double pivot off Declan Rice and Kante. That maximizes the defensive side of things, and then have players like Kai Havertz play in the 10 area, because that's probably where he'll get the best out of him. But let's now talk about the final part of this segment before we wrap things up.
Go ahead.
I don't know when the next fixture is for Chelsea Man United. Do you know? Have you got an idea when that is?
I think it's actually probably towards the end of the season, maybe in April. I think that's more when it's around.
Yeah. I'm hoping that we do find some form and we come back to a certain sense of competition. From a Man United point of view, when you guys look at Chelsea now, I mean, what's the feeling when you see the fixture? What are you guys thinking?
I mean, I wish we had played you guys this week. I mean, when we played you guys, we were kind of reeling. You guys were in good form, and
you guys are thinking 3 points. You guys are thinking 3 points.
Draw. It was a horrible game the first time we played you guys, but I feel like now if we were to play you guys, we'd be flying. Like I wish we could.
Get out of here, bro.
I think right now you wouldn't want to play United, right?
No, we wouldn't want to play United, man. I think you guys would thrash us at the moment. Yeah. Players like Bruno Fernandes and Rashford and one. You guys were on top the first time we played. You guys had the better chances. I know there's a lot of talks about that penalty should have been given, man.
Yeah,
Maguire did. That was dirty.
No, you're right. Maguire manhandled Aspilicueta. But I think that's really like that says it all, right? That United Chelsea game was what, 8 games ago, and you guys were near the top. We were struggling for our dear lives, and now a few weeks later, United is at the top and Chelsea is 9th. So this is really where I want to come back to Lampard. Things can improve. Like you said, he doesn't have the time, so they may not improve, but there's a few things he has to do. He has to find a system and a setup before he even chooses his players. He has the players now. Like, there's nothing he can do about it. These players that he has right now, he has to get the best out of them. So find a setup, find a style of play that you want to play with. Whether that's counterattacking, so be it. If it's counterattacking, it's counterattacking. If it's play a guy like Giroud up front and play off him, all these creative little attacking players play off him, so be it. But you have to find that style of play. And then from there on, you have to find your spine. And one thing I want to add to that, Kai Havertz will be the thing that makes or breaks Frank Lampard's Chelsea managerial tenure. Either Kai Havertz will get back into this team and play to the levels that we saw these last few years in the Bundesliga and save Frank Lampard's job, or the fact that he's already benched him, he may have lost him already. But that's for me the player that can change it for the better or for worse. No,
100%, man. There's a lot of talk in the, I don't know how much of it is true. There's a lot of talk in the media at the moment that some of the, players like Bruno, Kai Havertz are not happy. And these are the funny thing is these are Frank Lampard signings as well. Yeah. Like it's not like it's someone else's signing, so he's brought him in. So he's got to find a solution with these players.
Let me ask you this: as if you say you were Kai Havertz or Timo Werner, Timo Werner we won't say much because he's been playing even through this bad form. Frank Lampard has persisted with him, which I think is another thing. Like as a manager, you're fighting for your job. You have to bench the players that aren't performing. Yeah. But Kai Havertz is his 70-80 million pound player. He bought him. He's the future for Chelsea. And he made the decision to bench him, which is fair enough. But when the decision to bench him and then bring in other players doesn't work, you're going to get the microscope put on you because these big decisions that you make have to pay off. Ole benched Paul Pogba for numerous games.
Yeah.
And when it didn't, if it hadn't worked out, he benched them for McTominay and Fred. If it hadn't worked out, Ole would not be in a job. But these big decisions you make have to pay off, and then people can get on your side. If you bench Kai Havertz and the performances don't get better and you continue benching him, you're going to lose the player.
Spot on. Now, that's so well said because Kai has actually been now benched probably past 3 games in a row. So I understood when he was first benched. I was like, okay, that makes sense because he wasn't playing well against West Ham. He's been benched, or the one before West Ham. And then he got benched again against Arsenal, and we were atrocious. So it's back to your point where you said that you benched me, but the team is still crap. Yeah. So what's the point? But yeah, you're right, man. It's come to a point where these players are going to start really, really asking questions. I just want to ask you a quick question before we wrap things up, man. The whole Pogba situation, man. What's going on? Like, is this guy staying? This guy going? What's the whole lowdown in Man United?
That's a good question. I mean, Paul Pogba his agent has said it. As many in the Manchester United fan base, there's a subsection of Paul Pogba fans, and I don't know how many are real Man United fans or they just
Pogba hive.
Exactly. So when his agent comes out and says things like Paul Pogba's Manchester United career is finished after this summer, some Pogba fans will say, "Oh, it didn't come from him," so you can't really hold him accountable, even though the guy who he pays to speak for him is coming out with these statements. But that's beside the point. There's a lot of people now who are starting to believe Paul Pogba may actually end up staying at United. And the reason why Paul Pogba has never wanted to leave United because of money, because United, quite frankly, can match any financial desire he has themselves. It's never been up to this point because of playing time, because Paul Pogba has always been a main mantle of the team. Paul Pogba, the reason he rejoined United in the first place is because he wanted to win silverware with Manchester United. So United, like Paul Pogba's goal is to win trophies with United. He wants to see the team be ambitious in the market, sign the best players, and compete for titles. A few weeks ago, which is when his agent put out those quotes, we were struggling. We were out of the Champions League, or on the verge. He said it the night before. We were on the verge. We were in mid-table, and Pogba wasn't playing. He came out with those comments. He's got himself back into the team, and this is one of the best periods of Paul Pogba's Manchester United career that he's ever had. He's playing really, really at a top level. And I think
he's back. Yeah,
the players around him are at that level that he can succeed at. Like I said, Pogba doesn't raise the basement of a team; he raises the ceiling.
True.
So there is a chance at the end of the season, if United finishes second or in our wildest dreams wins a title, I don't know why he would want to leave, because the teams that he is being linked to, Juventus and Real Madrid is struggling right now. Juventus is more than struggling. I don't know if they're in better situations, if they have better players than United can offer right now. That's up for you guys to decide. But I wouldn't say they're overwhelmingly better situations for him to come join. I think he just wants to be in a situation where his team is challenging for trophies and the best players in the world are coming to that team. And I think United are on that path to doing that. So I think there is a chance in a few months that he does decide to sign a new contract. If not, he's just playing this well right now to get himself a move, raise his transfer fee, and leave in the summer. But we still have to see that.
No, for sure. Quick question here from Ollie Best. As a United fan, I always question why Hussenhutle doesn't play more for you guys. Do you think he'll leave in the next few? I'll just quickly answer this. Look, man, he's had the injury. Then obviously, he's had to find his way back. And of course, he had the illness as well. And then the whole media theatrics that's happened around Callum Hudson-Odoi. I had some intel from some of the bigger Chelsea football Twitter accounts, and they've said that last season, Frank had to spend a lot of one-on-ones with Callum Hudson-Odoi. Callum Hudson-Odoi is a particular player, even though he's 20 now, but he's really not a 20-year-old over here. Like you see the likes of Mason Mount, Reece James, Tammy Abraham, they're very mature for their age. Callum Hudson-Odoi he doesn't act like a 20-year-old. So, these are some of the factors that has really, really hampered, I suppose, his game time. Frank had to sort of mentor him a lot more, when Frank actually has a team to manage. So, these are the things that he probably hampered him from getting the minutes, and he is starting to see some sort of minutes now. But now it's getting to a point where this guy deserves to start, and Frank needs to start. Really needs to, get him starting because every time he comes on and he keeps producing. And, Frank seems to have some favoritism with certain players, and that needs to go. And Callum Hudson-Odoi really deserves to start. So hopefully I've answered that. Yeah, go on, Liz.
To add on to that, this is, again, it goes back to my point. Like, this is now do or die period for Frank Lampard. Yeah. Sink or swim. You play the players that are performing for you, that are getting you results. And Callum Hudson-Odoi, for the last 3 games we've watched now, Arsenal puts in a great cross for Tammy Abraham to score. Who was it? Aston Villa. One of the Man City, he gets brought on at the end and he scores. So I don't understand now what's stopping him from starting. If anything, you should be more inclined to start him, A, because he's getting you results and potentially saving your job, and B, because you know that this is a guy that's well sought after from all the top clubs in Europe. Bayern Munich has made their interest in Callum Hudson-Odoi abundantly clear. You lose the risk. You have the risk of losing this guy, so play him.
And you know what the other crazy part is, Les? This guy's actually increased his work rate. He tracks back, he's defending, he's bombing. He's doing everything that Frank is saying. Now Frank is recently he came out in one of the matches and he said that, I want to see more production from him. And now he's producing as well. He's scoring goals, assisting.
Yeah.
He's doing everything. So I don't really know what more this guy can do now. I think he deserves to start. Honestly, in hindsight, I know hindsight's a bit of a bad way to look at things, but Ziyech, when he started against Man City, I was like, wow, I can't wait. But looking back, I don't think he was ready, man. Ziyech was not ready for Man City. It really should have been Callum Hudson-Odoi.
I think with Chelsea, a big problem in this team is that you have a lot of players that all like to occupy the same part of the pitch, which is the center. Pulisic just like to drift in. Havertz is a central player. Ziyech is a player who plays on the right with his left foot, who comes in. You don't have a lot of natural width, and of course that comes normally from your fullbacks. But especially when you're missing Reece James, that's when you need someone on the right hand side who can be a natural winger, who can whip balls into the box, and that's a huge problem for Chelsea. They don't have any natural width when it's not coming from their fullbacks. So for me, Hussenhutle was a no-brainer to start against Man City. You'd have to expect him to start next game.
Oh, has to. But man, it was an awesome pleasure to talk to you. I'm going to bring you on very, very soon again. Of course, when Champions League starts, and I know you guys are not in the Champions League. All those Thursday night games for you guys, I'm going to have to bring you back so I can rub it onto you. You rubbed that onto me today, man. I'm going to remember this.
Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, guys, thank you so much to each and every one of you guys that has joined. Please smash the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and don't forget, my boy here, Lyes, please follow him. All of his information is going to be in the description, and his YouTube channel, boys and ladies, or whoever else is out there. Subscribe to his channel. He's just hit 1,000 subscribers. This guy, his ball knowledge is excellent. And he doesn't just cover Man United. He covers a lot of other teams as well.
All the teams. There you go.
All the teams. If you want some Chelsea content, if you want any other content, this guy's, just gives you something alternative. I always go after a Chelsea match. I go to his channel. I just want to see what rubbish that this guy's about to say. It just makes me laugh. But yeah, guys, give him all the love. And we'll have more of Lyes in the other side of the coin very, very soon. Until next time. Now, before I go, Lyes, I want to let you have your final talk, man.
Chelsea fans, stay strong out there. Again, if anyone is coming from my previous videos, this is how I opened up my last one. There's no bias in my words. I'm just being honest. I'm just giving my honest analysis on your team. As a Premier League fan over Manchester United fan, the Premier League needs a strong Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, and did I say Liverpool? Those big teams, they need them all to be good at the same time. So as much as I love bantering you guys, at the end of the day, I'd love to see a Chelsea team and Man United team challenging for the league. So there's no agenda, there's nothing. But just to wrap things up, the clueless American, he knows what he's talking about from time to time. So cut me some slack.
You better listen when the clueless American is speaking. You better listen.